I'm on a long drive, so I'm going to take a deep dive while I'm on a long drive and attack the question head on. The question that we're all wondering these days. What the hell happened to women? And of course, there's a certain tongue-in-cheek quality to the question, but yet it's also a serious as murder type of question, because what the hell has happened to women? I mean, I don't think I'm alone. I've in the points of view that I have shared on this matter, and it's not something that when I shared what I shared in my videos about BPD, in which I basically said every woman is BPD, just to different extents. And I base that on experience, right? It's what do you say? It's based on it's anecdotal. So it's not, I know I haven't met every woman in the world, of course. Haven't had the pleasure. And so what, all I can speak about is from my experiences. And going by my experiences, I would say, I mean, I don't want to rehash what I say in those videos. If you want to hear me go into more detail about it, you can go back and watch those videos. And I said what I said there. I said with some trepidation. It wasn't something that I really wanted to conclude, but my conclusion was that women just are crazy. Crazy in a certain way. Like, crazy in a way, in the BPD sort of way, which is different from being, like, crazy in an endearing way, Like, there are people that you meet who are crazy, but who wouldn't harm a fly. But they're just, like, not all there. They're just a little kooky. But what I'm talking about is a kind of crazy, the kind of crazy where, they'll do stuff to you. I'm talking about a vengeful, spiteful, angry, bitter, mean sort of crazy. Okay? And it wasn't a conclusion that I wanted to come to, but it was something that I just had to, and they say there's that expression, don't stick it into crazy. I'm going to be a little less crude here. Don't stick it into crazy. Well, that just means basically don't have sex with any woman, because anytime you stick it into any woman, then you'll have stuck it into crazy. Am I saying be gay? No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying this is what I've seen. I'm just reporting my experiences and my observations. Okay. So what happened? Well, I know that there are some people out there who just have this sort of jaded, like this unearned jadedness, which I really despise. I really don't like this quality. I don't like those who just, and it seems like that people specialize in having this kind of tone on social media, in comment sections. I guess, you want to, it's sort of like you have to just be pedal to the metal. You just have to be, you can't be nuanced. You have to just be like, here it is. It's totally black and white, and I know it because I know it, because I just know these things, and it's annoying to hear these declarations made without any evidence. And what I'm talking about is those who say women have always been like this. This is just the way women are. It's just the way they are. Others say things like, well, women are just children, and we really shouldn't hold them responsible. Well, we should. I'm not going to cede that. I don't think a woman's behavior should just be excused because she's a woman and therefore can't do any better. But they should be held responsible. They're human beings, that just like men should be held responsible for their behavior. And by the way, I'm not saying that men are great. I'm just saying women are crazy. All right? So this isn't a pro-man thing. Or this isn't a men are better than women thing. This is just looking at women and coming to certain conclusions. They're crazy in today. They're crazy. I can say that every woman I've had in my life has been crazy to one extent or another. Maybe I'm just looking in all the wrong places. I don't know. But that's the way it's been for me. And maybe for you too. Or not. Maybe tell me if I'm wrong. If you found someone who's not crazy, tell me I'm wrong. Okay, so how did it get this way? Well, I reject out of hand the whole they've always been this way. It's just the way that they are. That might be true, but there's no reason to conclude that is the truth, because we don't know women from time immemorial. And I know there's a lot of people out there, and even a lot of people who probably watch my stuff, probably who even follow me on YouTube, who are just very fond of making everything Darwinian. And these are like people on the right too, I'm talking about here, like the social Darwinists, the biological Darwinists. Social Darwinists and biological Darwinists they'd both be on the right. But I guess I'm talking more of the biological or the evolutionary biologists, what they call themselves, who would say, well, it's just an evolutionary trait. It's an evolutionary trait that they picked up. Like when you scratch your nose, that's because your ancestors had to scratch their noses in the wilderness in order to sense whether prey was afoot, and scratching their noses gave them that certain enhanced their sense of smell. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, everything gets explained away, like, oh, that's just an adaptive trait. And I am equally scornful of those kinds of explanations, because they always just seem to assume more than they prove. Like they assume that something must be an adaptive trait, and then they work it out how it's an adaptive trait. And so why we keep doing what we're doing today, it's because our ancestors, when they were finding their way out of when they were when they were replicating from one-celled organisms into more complex organisms, they were doing this or they were doing that, and men started doing this and women started doing that, blah blah blah, on it goes. Well, tell me this, riddle me this, Darwinian evolutionary biologist types, riddle me this. how is being a psycho an adaptive trait? How is being a psycho? How does that help you to find a mate and bear children? It doesn't. It doesn't. Being a psycho has the opposite effect. It makes you unpleasant to be around, and it makes men not want to be with you and not want to decide to make them to make you their mate and to bear their children. It makes men stay away. When men see psycho behavior from women, they say, okay, well, I don't think I want to. I think I'm done with her. That's what they say. They may not say it out loud, but that's what they think in their minds. Some of them do. I guess there's also the men who just try to accommodate the woman's psycho behavior, and there's so much in modern, even modern conservatism, well, she's got her honeydew lists, and we just gotta do what she says, because that's just the way it is, man. You gotta carry her purse for her while she does this or does that, and you just gotta indulge her. Like so many of the arguments that you hear from the pulpit, like these folksy little sermons about women. I guess because pastors and priests and so forth are just too terrified to sound like a misogynist, to be critical of women. They just encourage being gently indulgent. When she does her crazy stuff, just sit back and say, well, all right, I'm just along for the ride. And, I can understand that when it comes to in every relationship, people have to, you have to indulge certain things that I won't say partner because I hate that word, your boyfriend or girlfriend, or husband or wife, does that aren't evil but are just kind of annoying. You have to indulge those things. You have to forgive them. I'm with you there, right? I'm with you there, preacher man, for those little bitty things, those little tiny things. But when it comes to her just being a full-blown psycho and making your life miserable, you've got to draw the line. And preacher man, you're not doing your job. You're not telling men, hey, don't tolerate this kind of behavior from women. Don't ever let her do this to you. If she does this to you, say that's it. I'm putting my foot down. No more of this. And if she persists, well, you might just have to leave her. They're abusive. Abusive men are rightly called to task for being abusive. Abusive women are hardly ever called to task for being abusive of men. Hardly ever. It's all just sort of stuff we just kind of have to indulge. It's just like, yes, dear. Yes, dear. Just say yes, dear, and go along with it. You hear this so much when you're a man. And to an extent, yeah, it's true. You can do it over you can say yes, dear, over the little things. The little quirky things that are even kind of endearing. Oh, she has this little thing that she does, and it's sort of cute. I get that. I totally get that. But there are certain things that she does that aren't cute. It's so cute when she, tries to gouge my eyes out while I'm sleeping. That's so sweet. She's just so quirky. It's so cute when she accuses me during divorce proceedings of molesting our children. That's just part of who she is, Yeah, it's a little unusual, it's a little quirky, but we gotta deal with it. We just have to grin and bear it and just smile and go along with it. No, we don't. Nope. And no, you don't. And you shouldn't. I'm being extreme here, but it doesn't have to be at that extreme to be legitimately bad behavior that ought not be tolerated. And you can say it's not even a man-woman thing, because I don't start with a perspective of, unlike a lot of people on the right, I guess, I'm not really that I'm not really that demanding about she needs to be submissive. I need her to be submissive to me. There's something about leading with that's just kind of off-putting, and you don't have to be submissive per se, but just be agreeable and be reasonable. And yeah, there are certain tasks that men are better at, and certain tasks that women are better at. But it doesn't have to be you, woman, I tell you what to do, and you obey me no matter what. I've never thought that way. So what made women this? Returning to the question, again, this is a rambling sort of talk. I'm just sort of going where the Spirit leads me. What made women become this way? I'm open to ideas. And I think I even said, I talked about on my BPD videos, I talked about how in Freud's time, he initially had this thesis that a lot of these upper class people whom he was seeing and treating, quote unquote, that he initially he had this what he called child seduction thesis, but it wasn't child seduction. It was basically rape. He had this thesis that a lot of girls were getting abused by some other family member, and then I think he realized that telling these upper class families that they were abusing their children, that's not conducive to having them continue to see him and his psychoanalytic cronies and pay out their marks or their shekels or whatever currency was available. So then that became it's the Oedipus complex for boys and the Electra complex for girls. But initially it was so in other words, it all stems from what children really like, the fantasies that children have. It stems from the children, but initially he was toying with the idea that it stems from these children being abused. I mean, maybe he was right. Maybe girls are just abused by family members a lot more often. And maybe that abuse, I mean, we know that people who get abused as children, immediately that does something to you. That fries your circuitry, and that loads you down with pathologies, probable, or things that probably will grow into pathologies as you age, unless you are really conscientious about addressing these things, which is not easy to do when you're talking about family members doing things to you. I mean, I think I'm inclined to think that both girls and boys get abused a lot more than we know. And the victimizer is sometimes a man, sometimes a woman. This is not a patriarchal thing. But maybe men, maybe we don't see as many crazy men, stemming from abuse. If this thesis is correct, if it's true that a lot more children are getting abused, and like a huge chunk of girls get abused by family members when they're young, get sexually abused. If we're going with that, then that would explain their manifest pathologies. That would explain why they behave the way that they do, if they're in a relationship with a man, they might all get these insecurities, or they might be overcome with anger at perceived slights or whatever, or just have all kinds of things that are, that burden their spirits and make them behave in a way that we would call crazy. I mean, I think people who have been abused are worthy of compassion. That's still not saying that they are that they should be, that their behavior, if they in turn become abusive to others, that their behavior should be excused. It should not. But let's just say that a huge number of children are actually abused, and let's just say that I don't think that it would only be girls, but who knows? This is all in the realm of speculation. I would think, let's just say that boys and girls are both getting abused to a much larger extent than we acknowledge. Okay. Given the depravities that are manifest amongst the ruling class right now, I'm inclined to think that perhaps there are people who aren't world rulers who still exercise these kinds of pathologies, who still have this type of, and plus, they're trying to normalize it. Drag queen story hour, what have you. They're trying to make it not be such a. They're trying to say, well, pedophilia is not so bad. We shouldn't come down so hard on people who are MAPS, minor attracted persons. this is the kind of propaganda they're programming into their AI bots and so forth. So anyway, let's just say that that there is widespread abuse of children to a greater extent than we know. And then one asks, well, why are men not behaving crazy the same way that women are? Well, I would say that men react, well, we're biologically different, and men react differently to abuse than women do. A man's reaction to being abused is less likely to result in like BPD type of behavior, angry, vengeful, malicious, seeing every man as your, just the way that a girl who gets abused may be more inclined to see every man as a potential abuser, or see in every man's face the face of her abuser. A man who is abused, maybe by a man, maybe by a woman, a man who was abused as a child, responds differently. And it's not it still fries your circuitry. It still makes you psychically unhealthy. So it's just as devastating for boys as it is for girls. But maybe for boys, they don't grow up to become these spiteful harpy types, these BPD types, but instead they grow to have a different sort of behavior that's more male oriented. I'm not sure what that would be. I mean, I can only speculate, because thankfully I was never abused, and I sometimes wonder, wow, am I the only one who the closest getting a prostate check, that was the closest thing to abuse that I ever suffered, and that was bad enough. Believe me, that's no fun. But am I the only one who? I sometimes wonder that, who hasn't had my. Well, I won't get too graphic here, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's one thesis, one that I'm willing to entertain, and maybe it's true. And if that's the case, I don't know how that changes anything. On the other hand, were people less likely to, were children less likely to be abused in the 40s and 50s, and let's say the early 60s, before the sexual revolution really happened, when women were still encouraged to be feminine and so forth. There weren't as many complaints about that kind of thing, and marriages were more solid, and there wasn't this there wasn't the rampant malignant hypergamy that we see today amongst women. So I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss right now. Anybody have any thoughts? Please let me know below. thanks for watching. Thanks for watching through to the end. If you watched this all the way through the end, let me know, because I want to give you a gold star for doing that.